Hi math students, and welcome to your next project. This project is Match My Parabola and it's through Desmos. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to click on this link here and it's going to take you to the Desmos website. The first thing that you'll do on your side is make sure that you say sign in with Google, because when you sign in with Google it'll bring up your first and last name, which helps me out a ton when it comes to grading. The other cool thing about that sign in through Google idea is that when you do that, if you have to walk away or X out for any reason or your computer dies, all of your progress that you've made will automatically save. If you don't do that one, it won't save and you'll have to redo any progress that you make if you X out. So we're going to continue. The first slide here will already be here for you. Okay, y equals x squared. The biggest issue that I see is a lot of students will write in 2x or something like this and then it doesn't show up. To get the exponent in the correct position, you're going to click on this little keypad and you're going to click on the a squared button. Once you click on that, then it should auto-populate and be perfect. Okay, so a lot of the slides in this project, you were trying to get your parabola to go through 3 certain points. Okay, and we see that in this next slide. Okay, the next slide here, we're trying to get the blue, green, orange, and purple dots, so these sets of 3, to all have a parabola that goes through all 3 of those points. And if you look back at your workbook 12.3, I like to primarily look at vertex form when we're solving for graphing these types of equations, because if we look at vertex form, the a here in front of x minus h squared is going to tell me whether or not our graph is getting skinnier or wider. And then the h here, if it's x minus h, that h is going to be the x value of your vertex. So the h is what's moving our graph left and right. And then the k here is going to be our y value. So our k is going to be moving it up and down. Okay, so since I'm moving up and down, let's look at my first line here. So my first one is blue. Okay, I need my vertex to go from 0, 0, or the origin, to 0, 3. So if I was to do this one, I would say y equals x squared. And since my x is still a 0, right, I went from 0, 0 to 0, 3, I'm going to leave it just as x squared because my h is going to be 0 in that equation. And then my k is going to be 3, so I'm just going to write plus 3. And then I can check my work, and sure enough, my blue line is going to go through all 3 of those blue points. Okay? And then so for the orange one, we would do the same thing, but instead of plus 3, we're moving down from 0, 0. So I would be putting in negative 3, right? Because that's going to go down 3 points. Okay, now if I look at the purple one and I go back to workbook 12.3, the h here, or your x value, is always going to be opposite of whatever is inside of these parentheses. So if it's x minus h, your vertex is going to be a positive x value. So in this case, when I'm doing my purple one here, I want my x value to be negative. So instead of doing x minus h, we're actually going to do x plus h. So in this case, we're going to do y equals, in parentheses, x plus, and I'm trying to go over to negative 4, so I'm going to do x plus 4, and then my little a squared button. And then my k here is 0 because my y value is 0. So then I'm just going to check my work. Oh, and I wrote this in the wrong box, but that's okay. Anyway, here, we'll move it. Y equals x plus 4 squared. Oops. And since we're talking about opposites, since green has to be positive 4, we're actually going to write x minus 4, and then we have both of them. So there's my purple and my green. So just remembering that inside of that is the opposite. So for the +4, I put in a negative, and for the -4, I had to put in positive. Okay. This next one, when we're talking about Eric and Jenny's graph, make sure that in this box, you tell me who is correct, and then you tell me why. There's a little box that comes up, and you're going to say, I think Jenny is correct because of some reason. Make sure you're using 2 or 3 sentences to explain, because that's going to be very, very helpful for me in terms of grading. This next one, this is where the A in front of our vertex form comes into handy. So this A right here, that's telling me how our graph is getting wider and smaller. So if you go back into this one, if I want to go through the black dot and my blue dot for this first one, okay, each parabola should pass through the origin and a pair of colored coordinates. So I want to go through the black point and my blue points. So I'm going to start out with y equals, the red one is 3x squared, and I have to get wider than that. So to get wider, I'm going to put in a fraction. I'm going to put in, let's say, 1/2, because the rule of thumb is to get a wider graph, your A has to be smaller than 1, and so 1/2 is smaller than 1, and then to get bigger it has to be, or to get steeper it has to be bigger than 1. So that's why this is really steep, and it's at 3x squared. So let's check my work on that blue one. Okay, it is wider, but it's not quite wide enough. So now I'm going to make this even bigger by making the number on the bottom bigger. So let's try 1/3. Okay, still not quite there. And this is how I would love for you guys to complete this, is just putting in some numbers and seeing how it affects your graph. Okay, you can reset this as many times as you need to. So that's how I got that blue graph. And then if I see the purple and the orange and the green ones, they're all facing down. So remember that when you are completing this, to make your parabola go upside down, that means that my A has to be negative. So I'm going to do y equals, let's do -x squared and see what that looks like. Okay, so that actually goes through the green one, so I would move that equation to this green one. And then to get steeper, remember it has to be bigger than 1, so let's say I put in 2. Okay, that's perfect, it goes through those 2 dots. And then if I wanted to do the purple one, I would start putting in my fractions because it's wider than this one. So I would start just like I did before, maybe try -1/2 x squared and see how that affects my graph. And then for number 6, you're trying to get the vertex down here and to go through these 2 points as well. So I would do just like we've been doing before, is play around with your equation. This vertex form is going to be really helpful. So just play around and then just check your work and see how your graph moves. And then same thing here, using that vertex form. And then once you get to this last slide, slide 8 out of 8, there is no submit button here. So once you're done, it'll save your progress and you'll just go back into your course and you'll type in, I've completed this project, and then push submit, and that's how I will see that you've completed it and I can give you a grade. Okay, if you have any questions on those last few slides that I didn't go over as thoroughly, please reach out. I would love to go over them with you. Yeah, so good luck.